What's up, everybody? Long time. Let's begin.
Lose! I don't lose! I win! I win! That's my job! That's what I do! There is no tomorrow!
Focus on what you're doing. Get better at what you're doing. Everything else is a complete waste of time.
It's not over until I win!
Hello. Welcome back to the channel. Been a few weeks. I did one of these to the 10, 15 viewers or few viewers who've got me those 10, 15 views. Love you. Right, Bitcoin. We'll get through it. Like I said, it's been a few weeks since I did one of these. And the reason for the long due was there really wasn't anything material since what I said or mentioned in my last video to where the price action was, where the markets were. Apologies. So we pretty much, from a price standpoint, are at that same price pivot. And if I bring back my drawings, let's do a bit of a brief recap. 74,420. This price low basically was our key low, which the price attempted once, twice, massive rejection. So 3 attempts at trying to get above this low of 74k, which the price couldn't, and that price pivot is a major resistance low. At first, this previous resistance high range was coming out to be a bit of support, but doesn't seem like it. So our next objective is that the price should find its way somewhere around this range, or the bottom end of this range, which is around 50k, right? And then precisely this low here of this range is at about 49k. So 49 to 50k low towards the end of this range is where I think the next objective of the price is likely to be, which, if you've seen my videos, these boxes have been there since ages, essentially. And I wouldn't be surprised, maybe it's too early to call, but just going by the sentiment and how some of this has played out in the past, yeah, massive downtrend, strong downtrend. No guarantees that this low range 50k 49k will end up being the bottom. I don't know, but I think there's a very good chance and a high probability, at least for that wave B or that relief rally that we have been waiting for so long. For that relief rally, the interim low 50k 49k makes sense. So I will go with that probability 100%. So still, since the last time I did this video, waiting for the price to make its way towards somewhere around this range. And then from that point, this should, find its way somewhere in this zone and at a stretch somewhere here. And then let's see if it goes up or from that point it goes down. I don't know. We'll get to that. Our first objective is for the price to get to the bottom end of this range. Looking at the RSI momentum, no surprise, finding the reaction from the bottoming zone. Looking at its past history, you can see this zone here has been very well respected by the RSI. 2018 low, 2020, this is then the 2022 bear market, some sideways consolidation above the midpoint of this box, and then the recent low it's made and touched and kissed the bottom end of this range. So it's positive. Like I said, that's where it's making that V-shaped formation. Just going by with the world events, the geopolitics that's happening at present. I'll bring up the SPX and the gold chart in a second, but I get a feeling that the objective of price making a low towards the end of this range, and then maybe a double bottom or some sideways consolidation of the RSI as price makes its way towards the price range of 50, I don't know, ballpark 55k broadly. So this is 50 to 53. This low here is what? Let's take a look. This is 50 to 55k. I wouldn't be surprised that the price makes its way towards that zone. RSI continues to consolidate sideways as the price makes its way towards that range. So that is my expectation. And then the objective number 2 would be that price makes its way towards that relief rally. And the first objective of that relief rally would obviously be this pivot, 93, 95, and then maybe this. And then a major kind of aspect of that high end is where is the 50-week moving average, right? From a moving average standpoint, price is well above the 200-week moving average. Your 50 SMA currently stands at about 97k, right? So let me bring back the drawings again. The 50-week currently is above this price pair, which is 91 to 93. So effectively the 50 SMA is just right above, right? But you can clearly see it's a very strong downtrend. The Kumo is bearish, trending down. The downward trend line is very strong. The price has respected and kissed the downward trend line and continued its way down. So patience. I think what would end up happening eventually is I think it needs more time. Hence, it would make sense for it to kind of breach the 200-week SMA, come to this range, give it some time, and then by that time, the 50-week would also be a bit more closer to the price. So the compression between the 50 and the 200 SMA makes sense. So again, both the moving average bands are quite far apart at the moment. So it's going to take time. But the other aspect of this is the 6-week, apologies again, 6-month worth of consolidation right above the previous 2021 high, this cluster here. And from a super trend standpoint on the monthly, it's right at about and then looking at the history towards the left in the 2022 bear market, the price did breach the 50-month SMA. So the 50-month SMA, the bottom end of which is currently about 51. This then coincides with both the cluster bottom range and the fact that the 200-week SMA is ballpark on the high 55s. So there's a 2 or 3 conclusion points or data pivots pointing to that 50-55k range, and we'll see. My best probability at this point is that we make a local bottom 50-55k, make way back up towards the relief rally. 50-week SMA would be the first objective, which at present it currently stands at about 97k. We'll see, but those are the objectives. Now there really is nothing much to see on the daily. Sideways representing a kind of looks pretty much this consolidation before the eventual move down. Now Trump tomorrow can just wake up from his dreams. I don't know if I should call it dreams, but whatever it is that he's trying and he's playing, he might just wake up tomorrow and say, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm friends with Iran, and I'm gonna kiss them goodnight in the bed, and everything gets back up all of a sudden. The markets love certainty, not uncertainty. So you never know. The man can just pump up the market. So it kind of is very tricky and hard, if I'm honest, to really put your money where your mouth is, and hence not playing every move and still sticking to the fact. And if I miss it from a spot standpoint. I do have positions in a few of those alts that I've obviously talked about quite a bit, but from a direction standpoint, which obviously Bitcoin provides, I am still patiently waiting for price to decide firmly. And that firm decision, I think, would be once we flush out the liquidity below this low, which is at about 60k, and take out the liquidity that's basically this block cluster, 50, 55k. And then I think it would make more sense for price to get an upthrust. So patiently waiting. Now, to bring up the SPX, then, I had said in my last 2 video updates, at least, where I said the only thing with the strength that Bitcoin was showing at around this cluster, the only thing the thing which can kind of break the price and the strength on Bitcoin is SPX. And unfortunately, that has come to the fruition, right? With the charts, if you recall the slight divergences that I was mentioning, they did actually occur. And yeah, you see the loss in momentum, the the squiggly pattern or whatever that is on the weekly RSI, very weak, no momentum, divergence playing out. And at that point, I think on the low time frames, the 4 hours at least, was indicating in where the multiple divergences were occurring, and there was just loss in momentum. Anyways, the summary is that the divergences did come to fruition. It played out. We've seen the drop in SPX. The good thing, I think the max pain is over, or it's closer to being over. And I am viewing the previous high, which was about 61.47, and then if shit kind of really hits the bed, this zone, which I think I had marked as this is coming from the monthly, yeah. So yeah, this cluster, this demand zone, which is about 5881 and 6000. So I think this would mark the bottom for SPX in all good probability, from which point the 50 to 55k that I'm talking about kind of makes sense looking at SPX. One final move before jumping back up, or for SPX to have a relief rally that kind of coincides with every market finding some breath and some breathing space in this chaos. And then finally, so if I was to draw maybe from here, we get front run, I don't know. This would kind of make sense to act as a resistance, and we follow something like this. I can happen, right? But we'll get that relief rally on BTC, at least in the interim before. And you never know, this high here and then this zone here could eventually end up being the bottom anyways for the cycle. If I take this parallel channel, or maybe there's no need to, but you can see here this low that came about, it was nothing but the previous all-time high retest, and then it goes back up. The previous or the last high is this, which is about 61.47. Price currently is 63.43. So it's close. It's close. Yeah. We're close to the bottom rather than to anything else. So that's one positive. The other positive is then the BTC gold ratio. Let's have a sip of whiskey. So looking at, is the month done? No, this is, oh wait, closing. The March month comes to a close in about what, a day or so. This pattern, I don't know what you call this pattern, tweezer bottom, I don't know, but it's not close to a tweezer bottom or something. Sounds feels something of this bit, right? This pattern here. So essential point is there's strength of the buyers, which you can clearly see from the BTC to gold. Gold, if you recall, I had mentioned $5,000 being the psychological round figure top, and I think it was 5,500 or something, which gold spiked to, and then from that point it's crashed, at least in the short interim. We'll see. I can quickly view the gold chart, but this is what I had drawn previously. The ratio BTC to gold is now in this zone, which I had anticipated to be the bottom, breached back inside there. Wouldn't be surprised. Let me see the RSI. Yeah, forming a V, maybe a slight pullback. I don't know, but it really needs to break this trend line, and then it needs to get above this SNR. It needs to flip this low into support again for me to have a very strong sense of BTC getting price reversal and gaining strength against gold. So that's where we are. Strength being demonstrated by BTC against gold, gold getting topped. I've repeated this narrative over and over again. What's good to see is the charts are now starting to reflect that viewpoint. Very frustratingly slow. That's part of the game. A lot of participants for sure have been flushed out. Whatever handful of the participants which are still left, more importantly alive, breathing, will reap benefits in my view. The markets always come back. Just need to be patient and positive. So SPX, we're closer to the local bottom, at least if not the bottom. BTC against gold is finding strength. Charts are starting to reflect that, still in a downtrend, but you can see that's the bottoms are always ugly, to be honest. Like 9 out of 10 folks wouldn't bid this, right? They wouldn't bid this. So bottoms are always ugly and scary, you know. Consolidation here, spikes, comes back, gets bought back up. But imagine the smell of all those participants who would have sold or panic sold at support, right? That's how the market tricks you, I'm afraid. So don't lose your positions. Do not lose your positions. Now, very funny in my list of bits, or the list that I have on TradingView, there's this ontology. I've got a bag, or a small bag of this from 2021 onwards. I think I've never sold it. I mean, there's no point in selling a worthless piece of shit that's now 99%. But my thesis was always like these Dino coins, be it Ripple, be it Ontology, Litecoin. My gut says like these Dino coins would like have their moment of triumph at some point, and everyone will be surprised, oh, dead, scam, whatnot. But I was here towards the later end of 2017 as most of the retail investors or rest of the retail boom that came in that pump, shit just went crazy. I can't even recall like how 100,000%, I don't know, like the returns or the percentage on the pumps of 2017 alts were just insane. Like coins went from nothing to 50 cents, 80 cents, $1, $1.50, $2 out of nothing. People became filthy rich out of nowhere. And if there's anything that one needs to learn in this space is, if you buy something, be ready to lose it. Just don't sell it, because you never know what shit is going to pump and what the narrative would be. So I still have this. At some point, I think it was mostly the monthly chart. You know, I'm a big believer of triple divergences. So before this, at this drop, right, I was looking at, you can see here on the RSI, the triple divergence officially getting formed here, but low. So if I was to draw this low, you can kind of see the rounding structure, and again, frustratingly, but really the true, it was just so anyways, the point is, I haven't sold it, and the narrative that why ontology is pumping right now is some the identity decentralization, whatever DID or OID product that they built, the European Commission or some commission or department or government authority in the EU has kind of adopted it, whatever, or have adopted it, or the idea kind of resonates, hence the pump, right? So you never know the narratives. It's up, 30%? Like it's finding strength clearly. So I think if I would be interested, and I would be keeping an eye on ontology if it's able to regain this 14 cent, 15 cent price point. That would make this really interesting. And I was here when these Chinese coins just went nuts. It's crazy. Thought was good to mention something of this nature. So that pretty much is the update. A quick glance at the other alts. More interested in the BTC pair, Solana. I think the Sol BTC pair will find its way towards this zone. So that's going to be another 27% drop. Might be a liquidity flash. So say about conservatively 30%, 30 to 40% or further Sol to BTC pair depreciation. Looking at the USD, let's say 40%. Yeah, that kind of breaches this $50 mark. Psychological round figure. Would make sense to have some support getting established at this point. So let me just check. Here's the bottom. Here's your high. The 0.618 is at about $31. Makes sense. Effectively, the 0.618 and the zone. So wouldn't touch Solana. Now, XRP is interesting. I know the USD pair has kind of just shit the bed, unfortunately. BTC pair, not so much. And more interestingly, if you look at the market cap chart, XRP tells you a different story. So, tells you a different story, yeah. It's still well above this 2021 high, while the price is not. Interesting. Again, from a market cap standpoint, I've got targets. I don't know if I deleted it. I've got 500 billion, was it? Pretty sure 500 billion. Let's just do the fibs to make it sound right. Yeah, 1.414492. So definitely 310 billion. That would be from the current market cap an increase of about 280%, and round number 500 gets you about 519. So say ballpark 500%. So basically what I'm trying to say is the market cap is a key data pivot to make my decision as to what and when I sell my XRP, in addition to the XRP BTC pair. So the XRP BTC pair for strength, the narrative that XRP has always flipped Ethereum and when it's really the bull. So XRP ETH is important, but XRP BTC and the XRP market cap, a 500% would mean that on XRP, 500% from current price point gets you $8. Now that $8 has always been a sell price. If I can bring the main chart. Yeah, there you go, $8. Simple Fibonacci says go top, bottom. 1.272 is $8.2. So I think next cycle we'll get it. We'll get the next cycle. What else? XRP, Sol, talked about gold, BTC, Curve. I know it looks shit, but if you have not bought this or still are waiting for this to further shit the bed and have not pulled the trigger, then I will see you at the top, but I will be alone. ETH BTC, patience. What else? Miserable Litecoin, but I think it will have its own shining light. What else? XRP done, SPX done, dominance. Yeah, patience, look shit. So I think that's it for today. And again, to summarize, stay patient. I am still waiting for price to meet the objective to find its way somewhere towards or closer to this range, which is 49 to 55 effectively. And maybe there's a divergence, hopefully, which then confirms to me that we have a bottom. So maybe this, and there you go. Well, that's the confirmation I'm looking for. A lower low in price, a higher high in the momentum indicator. Well, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share, get other folks if you can to watch these. I'll still be doing this for myself until I speak to you next. Cheers.